Hi, y'all. Building and
Hello, welcome to another episode of Marriage Hacks with Joseph,
and Miriam,
with real talk
real solutions.
for a healthy, thriving marriage. Though faithfulness and trust can appear to be one in the same, trust actually sets the foundation on which faithfulness stands. For one can't be deemed faithful without trust first being established. Proverbs 25:19 has always been one of my favorite scriptures concerning trust. Proverbs 25:19 says, confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint.
In Proverbs 31:10, ladies, I know you know this one. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Her heart of her husband doth trust safely in her, so that he has no need of spoil. She will be good to him and do him no evil all the days of his life. In other words, if she's doing it right, he ain't got any reason to go anywhere else.
Amen. And Ephesians 5:22 and 24 says, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Wives should be able to fully trust in a loving husband.
Okay, now in the intro, I talked about the four things that points that we're going to look at. First is something called the trust matrix. It was introduced by this guy, Dr. John Gottman. He introduced the trust matrix. And then you have intimate conversation, and then building trust, and finally turning to each other and each other only.
All right, Mary, do you want me to start with the trust matrix?
If you would like to start with the trust
Okay.
matrix, that was our first point.
The trust matrix, like she said, Dr. John Gottman introduced the concept of the trust matrix at the start of a relationship. You may feel a high level of trust, but it's essential to understand its basis. Ask yourself, why do you trust your partner? Is it because they haven't let you down significantly? Is it because trust hasn't been tested yet? Trust is built slowly over time through attunement, being aware, turning toward each other, showing tolerance, understanding, non-defensive responding, and empathy.
That was a whole mouthful you just said.
Yeah, that was a whole mouthful.
Let's break that down. Okay, I'm going to look over here. Let's break this down. He says that he introduced the concept of trust matrix. At the start, meaning the beginning of a relationship, you may feel a high level of trust, but it's essential to understand its basis. To me, that's about when you first get together with someone, if you're a trusting person, and I've told y'all that I'm not a trusting person. I don't trust people right off. You got to earn my trust from the get-go. But say you're in love and you're lovey-dovey and you're feeling all scoochie-woochie and this person would never hurt me. Yeah. What's the basis of that? What's the basis of that ooey-gooey feeling? You got to ask yourself, why do you trust this person? That's a question. Is it because they haven't let you down significantly yet? Is it because trust hasn't been tested yet? Trust itself is built slowly over time through atonement, being aware, turning to each other, showing tolerance, understanding, and non-defensive responding and empathy. I reread that because you read through it so fast, and I just didn't feel like you were really pointing out those things. You got to ask yourself, why do you trust this person? What have they done for you to be able to trust them? Is it that you trust them just because you want to trust them? Because, unlike me, there are a lot of people that go into relationships being very trusting from the get-go, and they stay that way until they get a reason not to trust. But if you do it that way, think about it. You're in this conversation, you're in this relationship and all this good stuff, and you're feeling good and you're feeling happy, and it hasn't been tested in the slightest. You still got that ooey gooey love. And then when that person lets you down, you crash. That's why, we've talked about Joe's litmus test, the word that he likes to use, of trust and the whole money issue. But for me, it's being there. Has that person been there for you? I'm trying to figure out a nice way to put it. Have you given that person little tasks, little ways that you can figure out whether you can trust them or not? If you tell them something and you hear it from your friends or your family, you tell them something, they just let stuff slip. You have to think about those things. Trust is built slowly, and this says through atonement. I think that's a deep word, because when I think of atonement, I think of Jesus. Because he atoned for our sins. So I don't agree with that word. But being aware, turning toward each other, showing tolerance, understanding, non-defensive responding, and empathy. I just feel like those are things that come with the test of time. Those aren't things that are given right off. But that's coming from a non-trusting person with flower earrings on. Okay.
Well, one thing that jumped out with me on the first one is non-defensive response. Because I can see in my mind when I was reading that a spouse being very timid about approaching their husband because maybe they have received some defensive responses. Mm-hmm. So because they have received defensive responses, they
have been taught.
Yes, and so they don't have enough trust to be able to share their whole heart with their spouse, because they don't want to deal with the defensive response. So,
or we don't want to deal with their baggage.
Yes,
because you try to share something and all you get is their baggage in response. It may not have anything to do with you or him or your relationship or your marriage, but because something happened to that person years ago and they haven't let that thing go, it's still inside them and they bring it into that marriage. I think they call that baggage. Okay. But Mason, what's that? Samsonite baggage? Yeah.
But I think that the matrix is healthy starting out, because until that person gives you a reason not to trust them, you should have a high level of trust at first until they give you a reason not to. And then once they give you the reasons not to, by you two working together, I guess that's where that atonement comes into place. You working together to make it better, then you can create a tolerable I guess relationship, or tolerable.
Yeah.
Why you? Okay. I'm saying something that's tolerable between the both of you, that you're able to accept.
Okay. A compromise.
Yeah, compromise.
Okay.
Yeah,
compromise is better than tolerable, because tolerable finds out, hell, you don't want to be there in the first place. I'm just tolerating this Negro or Caucasian or whatever you are.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one is intimate conversation.
Okay, intimate conversation. Conversation is an art, and intimacy is a key element of trust. Learn to express your feelings in words, ask open-ended questions, and follow up to deepen your connection. Practice the art of intimate conversation to strengthen trust in your marriage.
That's a big one.
That's a real big one.
That's a big one. Matter of fact, Miriam and I had a discussion this morning on that.
Yeah, we had some intense fellowship.
This
morning.
This very point here, intimate conversation, and but anyway,
how you gonna phrase this about our intense fellowship?
We had some
this morning.
We had some intense fellowship, because Miriam is a very good sounding board for other people. I come to her, and I pour myself out to her. My children come to her; they pour themselves out to her. But Miriam made me realize, she's told me this before, that even though people come to her, she doesn't have anybody that she can pour herself out to, or she doesn't feel like she has somebody she can pour herself out to. So she's frustrated as far as being able to open up and pour out. And so this morning I said, okay, well, I give you permission to.
You give me permission.
I give her permission because she felt like she couldn't do it. So I said, okay, I give you permission to open up to me fully, instead of just picking and choosing the things that you share with me, because you feel like, oh, I guess, we're going back to that non-defensive response, because she feels like, oh, I may get if I say this to Joe, I'm going to get a defensive response. And so I don't want to deal with the backlash of this. So I'm not going to talk about this.
Right.
And so I said, okay, well, this is not healthy. I want her, just like we said in our previous discussion on faithfulness, I should be next to God. I should be the closest, her number one confidant. So this is something that needs to be fixed between her and I. So this is a compromise that I'm willing to make. I'm saying, okay, come to me with everything. I give you permission to come to me with everything. So I'm sharing my heart as far as this is concerned, because we had, like Miriam said, we had intense fellowship over this very thing. Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with y'all, even though he gave me permission to come to him, I don't know how soon that's going to happen. I don't know, because this has been almost 35 years of marriage, 36 years of marriage, that I've been the one that he has always come to, because I'm his sounding board, and I just take it. And sometimes what he says isn't always nice, but I just take it and I keep going. I bury it inside and I keep going. And so, just honestly, I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to do that. So I might just give little tests, little things.
And so this bounces us right back to the trust matrix. So there's going to have to be some attunement. Atonement. I'm sorry. Atonement.
Yeah, you're going to have to atone
in our trust
things.
In our trust matrix concerning our intimate conversation. And as you're listening to this, you and your spouse may say, you know what, that's also something that we can make some atonement as far as our intimate communication. Intimate communication is very, very important. Very, very important, because unless we communicate, we can't come up with a battle plan for any situation that we may be going through at any given time. But if the communication is open, then we can really work together and combine her strengths and her truly being strong where I'm weak, and me being strong where she's weak, and us balancing each other out.
Instead of me just feeling like I always have to be strong, period. Because that's the way I feel. I don't feel like I have the space to be vulnerable.
And the next one is building trust. Building trust. Trust isn't just about words. It's about actions. When your spouse shows you who they are through their actions, believe them. Trust grows when you consistently see your partner's commitment and reliability. Okay, yes, I'm gonna stop there. And that goes back to what we just said. Okay, so once
back around.
so once Miriam gets to the point where she is willing to open up, then that's when I'm going to be put to the test. My actions are going to be, and my attitude is going to be put to the test. Joe said that he gives me the permission.
That word permission just breaks the crap out of me. I give you permission. You do. You thank you so much.
To open up to me completely. I'm going to see how Joe is going to respond. Is it going to be a non-defensive response? Or is he going to respond the way that he normally does? And
if the way he normally does is, man!
so I'm going to have to make sure that I am pliable, that I'm able to adjust to, as far as a new way of thinking and a new
paradigm.
Yeah, new paradigm. Am I going to be able to adjust to this new paradigm? So what else you want to say about that?
Nothing. We'll see. Time will tell. Tick, tick, tick.
Time will tell. Okay, Miriam, this is number 4.
And this last one, turning to each other. I mean, we wrap this up. In a healthy relationship, trust means being able to turn to each other, not on each other. During challenging times, leaning on your partner lightens the load and provides security. Knowing your spouse has your back fosters trust and emotional safety. You got to remember, trust is a journey, a single conversation spread out over a lifetime in the seasons of your marriage. You have to keep investing, keep with the atonement, open communication, understanding, and building a strong foundation of trust with your partner.
Yes. Ooh. Yes. So what do you think about all this?
I think we covered all that.
We covered everything.
I think we covered it. I know Joe has my back. You know, there have been many times I've said to y'all, we don't have all the answers and we're not perfect. We're working through this just like y'all are working through it. And I like these moments of transparency because, like I said, it shows you that we're working through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're working through it and we're trying to make strides. So, because, you know, those times when I feel like I have no one besides God to open up my whole heart to, that's who I go to. I go to God. And I leave it there because I know I'm not going to be judged. He's not going to turn it on me. But he will correct me. Because there are times when I get worked up, I don't say anything to Joe. I get worked up and I go to God and he listens. And then I can be in a quiet moment in my studio getting ready to see a client or diving headfirst into one of my TV shows, because TV and movies have been my way of escape since I was a little girl. And it could be something as simple as, for instance, I was watching The Chosen for the first time, and when Jesus met the woman at the well, and he said, I see you. That sent me over the edge. I cried for 10, 15 minutes, got myself together, cried some more, because that was God's way of letting me know in that moment, in the dramatization of Jesus talking to the woman in the well, I see you, Miriam. I've heard you, Miriam. I got this. And by the same token, he said, I got this, but this is what I need for you to do. And he made me go back and look at different points in my life and Joe's relationship. And he made me look at some things that I had done wrong. So even pouring out to God, he sets me straight, but he does it with love.
And just understand that we all carry our own individual scars,
Yeah.
and the ways that we have been wounded in the past, and we bring all of those things into our marriage.
Yes, we do.
And so,
Because my being that sounding board is a defense mechanism. That's how I kind of made it through in so many situations.
and so God uses your marriage to help you deal with the hurts and the wounds of the past, of your past.
In the present.
Yeah, in the present. Yeah, the things that you are going to face together. That's part of why God chose you to be with that person, because God knew that person would help you deal with things that needed to be rooted out of you. Need to be rooted out of you. And I'm going to tell you, when things are cut away from you, it's painful.
It's painful.
Because you're used to that baggage being with you. You're used to responding to certain stimulus a certain way, and so when
It triggers.
yeah, and so when someone is trying to say, "Oh no, that's wrong," you don't need to. That's not the way that you properly respond to this stimulus. You need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. That's not the Christ-like way. That old saying, "What would Jesus do?" And so we always need to go back. Okay, what would Jesus do in this situation? How should I respond in this situation? Well, we hope that this discussion really benefited you. And as always, we're here. I just recently started leaving some vital resources in our
commercial.
In our description. Miriam called it my commercial. But these are really things that can really help you. Kingdom Marriage by Tony Evans. 4 Seasons of Marriage by Gary Chapman. Miriam wanted me to add the Love Languages, 5 Love Languages by Jerry Chapman. There's a
Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman. I'm sorry, Gary. Gary Chapman. A book on emotions, and then I even have a link for this Rode NT Mini microphone that we've been using. That's really been a great microphone for us.
And we're now using a teleprompter.
Yes, we're using a teleprompter
to help
now.
So we won't be looking down all the time. And Joe won't say 2 words cut, say 3 words cut, driving me crazy.
Well, anyway, we're trying to get a little bit better each time with each video. So I hope you guys are appreciating that. We are doing our best to get better. We're not professional, but you know what? God honors what we can do. And so until the next time, be blessed.